We're back in Shenzhen. Well, we technically never left, but you guys are back here with us in Shenzhen for the Intel Extreme Masters Season 10. That building. Roddy, do you have something to tell me about that building? Because it looks pretty unique.
That's the second tallest tower right now in Shenzhen.
In Shenzhen?
Yeah, that's the one near us. That's clearly why you guys...
Let's put you on the $1,000,000 question.
All right.
But where does it rank in the world?
17th.
No way.
Nah,
Are you
that's
serious?
a joke.
Oh.
Actually, I think it's pretty close.
He used the Autosis Jedi tricks. Did you see that? It worked. The Autosis Jedi tricks is to say something convincingly and believe it yourself, and you will believe it too.
That's true.
I'll look it up for the next break, because I do think it is between 13 and 19.
Okay.
The tallest buildings in the world.
Well, that's a pretty small range.
Roddy's actually very good at getting numbers. Like, if you think of a board that has a bunch of numbers in a strip that has numbers around 13 and 19, he knows this casino game very well. He's actually very good at positioning his coins in the right area.
No, I'm not.
And he's right now hitting in between 13 and 19.
I'm very bad at that game. But we don't have to talk about that.
All right, well, we can talk about something else that may be a little bit more interesting for our viewers here. Of course, we just had Snute. We had a quick chat with him, taking Rain down 2-0. I don't think any of us really expected that outcome specifically.
I said he'd get through in second place.
2-0? Well, okay.
Well, I said he'd get through in second place. I wasn't sure he'd do the double win.
Right, yeah.
But I think he can still... I think he'll get through this group.
Yeah, actually, I would agree with you now that he's in the winner's match. He's in prime position to go out.
I feel...
through the group, rather.
If Snute wants to go through this group, I feel he has to win right here, right now.
I do agree that.
I think if he loses to Classic, then I'm afraid it's going to be extremely difficult for him, because Rain is going to be very mad. And when Rain is mad, you want to stay out of his way.
When it rains, it pours.
That doesn't even fit right here.
What?
Wait, it
totally does.
Wow.
When
it rains,
it pours.
Yeah, no, I get it, but like, why would you just squeeze that in right here?
Because you're trying to say that rain's going to get angry, and it's not going to just rain; it's going to pour.
Sean wants more screen time. That's
now you got it.
Wow.
You got it.
He got it. All right.
I feel like you could have saved it for a better moment.
No, that was perfect.
That's only perfect. You brought it up over here at the desk in the middle of nowhere. It's like, guys, camera here. When it rains, it pours. Pop, pop. Get it on
That's
me.
how it works, man. That's how
I thought that joke
ISO.
perfectly inserted.
I thought it was all right. I would give it a 7 out of 10, which is pretty high.
No, like the joke is fine. It's just like the timing could have been better.
All right. Well, but the bottom line is, Rain's mad. Rain's pretty angry right
Rain's pissed, man.
Yeah, the conclusion is he's furious right now. You don't want to see him again, right? You just want to let Younghwa and Classic deal with that, and you just go through and you can relax and look at Rain when he comes back after maybe he wins in second place. Be like, oh, congratulations. Thanks for joining me in the quarterfinals. That's what Snute wants to do. That's all you have.
Was that a question?
No, I was just seeing if you had anything to say about that.
Yeah,
it
I was nodding
strong
in
opinion.
agreement.
All right, okay. Well, Group B, we will be going forward to the winner's match. So we get to see Snute once again. That's a bit of a tongue twister. See Snute once again. Of course, going up against Classic. Now, Classic took down his first match pretty early. He went 2-0 against Younghwa, so he's been waiting. Probably got to catch that game, actually, with Snute versus Rain.
You know, this would be a legendary performance. If Snute wins this group, he just took out, back-to-back the reigning champ of GSL and then the SSL champ. Like that is actually very memorable. I don't think that any European will ever be able to say that again. That hey, I was in this group with the reigning GSL and SSL champ, and I took them out both.
That's true.
It is actually a unique opportunity. I would be kind of pumped if I was Snute right now, because I know that you could write esports history over here, Tasteless.
Yeah, that's absolutely great. You threw me for a loop there, but yeah, I agree. It's a pretty big feat. I mean, if you take down both of those guys, you're probably in prime position to possibly take the whole weekend. But even if you don't, that's something that you really rests in history, to say that you took down both Classic and Rain here at Shenzhen.
I think it's always important to start to think about, especially once we're seeing who's going through and who's first and second, is that the tournament format is that first place is going to play second from one of the other groups, right? And you're going to have Hero, who is more than likely to go through in first place. It's not guaranteed, obviously, but if he goes through in first place, you just don't want to play that guy. Right. Not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it on the other side of the bracket, if Snute goes through in second, you then have to play against Lucira. I guess that's not too bad of a draw, but either way, I think it's as best as you said. First place is going to be the easiest way from an advance from this group, guys.
Yeah, I think you put it perfectly, Sean. Thank you very much for your deep insight here in Group B. Now, Snute had a little bit of time, of course, to get settled back in on stage, back-to-back matches on stage. Hopefully, he just gets to feed off of that energy. He looked just barely relieved more than anything to take down Rain, but you know, he doesn't have time to dwell on that. He's here to play against Classic.
One thing with Snute is he kind of shown his cards a little bit against Rain there. He didn't really play a super solid style. It wasn't anything spectacular. We're like, oh, Snute's in great form. It was more like, okay, Snute really caught Rain off guard with this type of style. And that's something which Classic is going to just be able to, okay, I finished against Yonghwa before you guys even begun. I saw everything there, and it's going to be a lot easier for him to adjust.
Just to play devil's advocate a little bit, don't you think that Rain is a more solid macro player in this matchup than Classic is? So, you know, if games go longer, then you rather have longer games against Classic than you would have against Rain?
I mean, you just took my brain for a spin, and I guess we ended up in the same location eventually.
Wow.
But yeah, I guess so, Roddy.
All right.
I had to think about that one.
Yeah,
I still think there's going to be a lot of adaptation that Classic can take from that series, despite obviously Rain being the more solid one.
Yeah, and you know, Classic, of course, I'm sure a lot of people read that interview after he took the SSL. He was like, yeah, well, now that I have this down, I want to just take another trophy, maybe 2 more, so I can really say that I've won on all levels of StarCraft 2 and say that I really am a world-class player. Because I feel like Classic right now, he's still a little bit hungry, right? It wasn't enough to say that he's the reigning champion of the SSL.
No, for sure. He wants more. I mean, he has never won an IEM. He has never really won tournaments outside of Korea. The 2 that he won, they were massive. You know, GSL once upon a time, and now recently the SSL. Great victories, but obviously you want to be that all-around guy that, you know, didn't just win the big ones, but also, you know, went to China, won a tournament there. Maybe one day wins it in Europe. If he wins here, maybe he goes to Katowice at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And he wins in Poland too. That's obviously what he wants.
Yeah, of course. I mean, all players here, sure, getting first place and saying that you won at Shenzhen is pretty cool, but what matters there is that you get to go to Katowice, you get to fight for that world championship title in the Intel Extreme Masters. 10-year-long brand.
I think it's quite important before we go into this real fast, Jober, is that with Snute messing up in WCS Season 2, these are the type of tournaments where he has to be grabbing WCS points in. And
that's
even though it's
true.
really hard, he's gaining points right now.
Yeah, we haven't touched upon that too much, but it is going to matter a lot for a player like Snute. So Snute versus Classic in the winners match of Group B. Who gets to move on to the quarterfinals first? Let's find out with our friends Artosis and Pig.
Thanks, guys. Great analysis there.
Very in-depth.
Indeed. You can see why they're paid so well. Let's go ahead and jump into this game, Pig. This is going to be pretty sick. Can Snute come out in first place in this group? I don't know.
It's going to be tricky.
All right, over here in the top left of Coda, our Zerg player upsetting Rain. He is Snute.
Looking focused, licking his lips in preparation.
And his opponent in the bottom right, the player that can only win tournaments in Korea. It is Classic. I love that. You can only win tournaments in Korea, you know.
It's a completely different ball game. A much harder competition outside of Korea. Winning, of course, the African Championships is pretty much the height of StarCraft 2. Korea is only a second-rate nation in StarCraft.
Something like that. Something like that. But there were some fair points made for sure. Like Classic. Is he as solid in the late game as Rain? No, I guess he's not, right? Like Rain is the ultimate defensive power.
Rain is the Snute of Protoss. You know, they're both players that usually like to sit back and defend. Like they want to play that kind of masterful macro style, in my opinion. Whereas Classic, a bit different.
I agree mostly, except Snute is the Rain of Zerg. Okay.
Your wording's probably correct.
Yeah, it's
probably
a little tweak on the wording.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
This is Classic to a T.
Classic, would you say?
Classic indeed. Fast spawning pool goes down, but I don't believe Snute actually spotted the probe on the way in. He has no idea this is happening. Ooh, this can be really, really nasty if you don't realize.
Yeah, and he's not even checking for it yet. Okay, we do have a drone coming down. This drone is going to check, but is that going to be quick enough? A cannon has already started.
There's no way that's early enough. You know, it was a little bit of a mistake for Snute not to send his second Overlord on the path to spot for these probe coming in. And now he is going to have to do something like canceling that hatchery, expanding elsewhere, and this gives Classic a lot of momentum here.
Oh man, and even gets to go ahead, throw down that Nexus, knowing that his cannon will go up. He doesn't need to make any more over there. A great start here for Classic, really kind of taking the game and doing with it what he wants, completely different from how we saw Rain play against Snute.
Classic isn't one to wait and receive his opponent's build. He's the one who wants to go out and dictate what he can and can't do. And Classic loves to take risks. He has that killer instinct. He's never the player to sit back and say, I'm better, so I'll just play for the late game. Hells no. Classic wants to kill you, and he wants to kill you the way he thinks will kill you fastest.
Yeah, that's true, and that's why I like Rain more than Classic. But he's a fantastic player. You know, he's so underrated too. The thing about Classic is because he is a double champion, SSL and GSL. He's like, people don't really do that, right?
He defeated some amazing players. A lot of people predicting Dream to beat him recently in the finals, and he crushed through in commanding fashion. Of course, not going too much further with this cannon rush, he did kind of just cancel that base, but you've got to look, even though Snute's reacted very quickly with these other hatcheries, canceling his natural, he's a little bit behind, and especially in position. Even though the economy will end up very even, positionally defending that middle base from any early pressure is very difficult.
Indeed, that's a quite a good point there, and I wonder if he'll do any sort of follow-up to try to utilize this. I don't think so. You know, when people try to do warp gate rushes following up a cannon rush when they have something like that, normally it just doesn't work. It's too obvious. But I do like things like going into Oracle against something like this. Kind of, you know, they're all spread out. Their queens can't be everywhere. It can be pretty annoying to deal with.
It's very frustrating for the Zerg player if they can't see exactly what they have to react to. Because all of those different pressures, you were talking about oracles, they can come a little bit sooner than normal. It can get very, very difficult. And this is why usually the Zerg has to take one risk or another. They can't cover every base unless they have all the scouting information. So that's what these next few minutes are about for Snute. Can his Overlords figure out what Classic's up to?
Well, we will see. He doesn't have an Overlord in position to scout that. That was a well-placed Stargate for him, but definitely something that can be scouted if he checks up that ramp with a Zergling to that side. Not going to do so yet, but it looks like an Overlord coming in from the back.
Going to come in and start to see this gas going down. Not going any deeper, Snute just kind of checking there's no sort of all incoming. The gases mean he's teching up. And what's very interesting about Classic recently in his PvZ is even though, as I said, he likes to cannon rush, he likes to do some all-in timings, do some big attacks. Lately, he has been one to, when the time is right, just sit there and defend and absorb anything the Zerg throws at him. And with the Stargate, the Oracle now in production, 3 gateways looking down, it's going to be a textbook Oracle harassment, most likely into that Sentry third base. Really, really solid play.
Yeah, and you know, I think that this is kind of the hallmark of someone who wins multiple championships, is being able to do this wide range. Rain kind of being an exception, you know, the way that he's playing defensive macro most of the time, even though he mixes up some. But which style do you think is going to be harder for Snute to deal with here? Is the Classic approach going to kind of throw Snute off a little bit more than Rain's reactive play?
I think it would. It's one of these things where Protoss have such a wide range of builds, so if you have a little bit of fear in the back of your mind, you're going to play a little bit differently. And already this Oracle comes in and there's no anti-air, just the single queen. Going to pick up quite a couple of drone kills here. Very nice start to this pressure for Classic.
Yeah, already 4. These other ones turning around just in the nick of time. If that had come just a couple seconds earlier, he'd have gotten even more kills, but still going to go on a rampage here. Almost out of energy. And you know you're a sad Zerg when Oracle had to stop attacking because it ran out of energy.
Oh, that's a sad situation. Even the 3-gate Zealot pressure coming in. Beautiful addition. Unfortunately for him, Snute's Roaches are already in production. Snute looking like he wants to go for a big Roach-ling timing here, trying to catch out Classic as he's taking the third. He is going to turn around to deal with that, but oh no. The damage is just getting more and more here.
Yeah, Classic is kind of all over the place. I love adding in the Void Ray as well. He sees these Roaches. That's going to be a great add for him. A lot of lings being made too. Are we going to see Snute do a very aggressive attack?
He's looking for it, but when it's being scouted, a single Void Ray is pretty much the hard counter to this attack. It's like, well, you've got 8 Roaches, I have 1 Void Ray. Guess what wins? The Void Ray will just shut this down. Classic, he's delaying the third Nexus. He's saying, I'll just take it a little bit later once I've got the Void Ray covering it, once I've got a couple more sentries. Not going to take any risks with it. And Snute really desperately needs to get damage done. He's only at 36 drones against 50 probes. This is you've got to do something with these units, but it's such a hard position. Classic's got all the information he's needed. He's already done so many waves of damage with the cannon rush and then the Oracle. Oh, this is a tricky spot.
It certainly is that. The Oracle's coming back now. The Void Ray actually missing those Roaches that walked by him, so a little bit of a mistake there. Looks like he should be able to get a cancel on this third base, so that's that's a small victory there for Snute, but he is going to lose anything that attacks his front with 2 cannons, that many force fields, and Void Rays.
Well, at least he does get the sympathy prize there. The Nexus does go down. Unfortunately, though, he's just started droning only now. When you're sitting at 36 drones and it's almost 11 minutes into a Zerg versus Protoss, you are not a happy Zerg player. These Oracles coming in to get damage again, running out of energy just in the nick of time, but the other one returns.
Oh man, these Oracles, some really fantastic play there with those Oracles. Killing so much off. In the meantime, Snute gonna go ahead, clean this up from his would-be natural. But it looks like Classic is just, he's making better and better quality units here. He's getting that +1 armor. He looks like he's gonna go towards Blink. He's getting more Void Rays. It's pretty scary what he's got.
Putting down the third Nexus again. Classic is just swapping into that defensive mode momentarily. He's going to wait till he's absorbed the next wave of Snute. Oh, nice little Zerglings around here, forcing out some force fields, but they are almost perfect. Only a single sentry going down for about 30 Zerglings.
Ouch. Really, really rough right there. You know, it looks like he wants to get another Cancel. I don't know if that's going to actually occur, though. No, it's just a few roaches left over. Those will be cleaned up, just dealing some damage to that Nexus. And from here, I got to ask you, Pig, what is Snute supposed to do to take a victory here in this first game?
Well, we see Snute gearing up to do a very low economy defense of about 60 drones, adding more queens, and he's going to need them. There's 2 Void Rays and 2 Oracles coming out in a little maraudering path, going to clean up some creep, maybe just going to go straight for the hatchery. He doesn't have any anti-air to deal with this.
Might well do. We'll see. Going after this hatchery right now, turning those Void Rays on as well, but with 3 queens coming up, gonna have to retarget. Has those Oracles as well. They're very low on health though, so he's gonna be careful with them.
Oh, the Void Ray range is just getting on top of those queens. Still hasn't taken any hull damage on any of these. And now coming up with the Zealots and Sentries, there is just nothing on the ground here for Snute. A paltry force of roaches is not going to be enough here.
No, certainly not. They are going to be cleaned up. 1 Void Ray finally does go down, but he easily has enough to take out this hatchery. And the amount of damage done to Snute, it just feels like it's too much.
Everything has gone right here for Classic, and really commanding play, what you expect from a champion of his caliber. If you give him any room, he's going to get on top of it. He's going to use that advantage and leverage it, and that's what we saw him do textbook here against Snute. Snute just wasn't able to get back into the game, and he's just slowly getting whittled down. These roaches falling down. He does type GG.
Very nice play there by Classic. Opening with that cannon rush that went unscouted. The fact that he went right into Oracle, got a lot of kills. Snute just had no idea. Never really sacked an Overlord to check. Do you think that he should have? I mean, he never really checked in the front, which if he had, he could have seen if +1 was going. He would have seen the Stargate. Of course, he doesn't know that. And then his Overlord never came all the way in. So what was the thought process there?
I think there's definitely an error if you're not checking the front of the wall, especially. I think that was Snute's. There were 2 big mistakes I see from Snute in that game. One was not sending his second Overlord on the path to spot the probe, potentially coming in at the regular cannon timing. It's a really typical thing. A Zerg of Snute's player, he was always checking for that. And of course, the second one was not going up to check if the Forge was upgrading and if there was a Stargate at the front.
Yeah, well, we'll see if Snute can do better in game number 2 against Classic. But first, we're going to go ahead, jump to a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to IEM Season 10 in Shenzhen, China. You see some beautiful shots here. A very nice city that myself and Pig have walked around a lot.
Yeah, we got some good exercise, breathed in the beautiful, nice, warm, humid air, which is a good change.
Very humid.
Good change for me. It's winter back home. It's a beautiful city. We've enjoyed some nice food, some beautiful sights.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun here. I always love coming to China for events. There's so many esports fans out here, so many great esports players. Kind of an overlooked place because we don't have regular English content coming out. But definitely has a lot of good players that we'll start seeing tomorrow.
Yeah, they have a really active scene here in China. You check it out on TV, of course, and stuff. I've discovered how large it is after studying VODs of opponents and all that sort of thing. It's going to be going into Snute vs. Classic here, though. Game number 2. Snute's going to have to pull it together after that game. Took a bit of a beating.
Cannon Rush opener there by Classic. It was Classic, as you said. Or as I said that you said. Now, taking a look. Here we go on Cactus Valley in the bottom left. Our foreigner Zerg from Team Liquid, it is Snute. And his opponent in the top left, a champion of GSL and SSL, it is Classic. Of course, from SK Telecom T1.
He's been posting some fantastic results over the last 18 months.
Yeah.
Everyone likes to make the joke, he made the right choice swapping to Protoss, obviously being a Terran player at the very beginning of swapping to StarCraft 2, realizing it wasn't for him. And he's just turned into a top-notch player. His range of builds is fantastic.
Yeah, and in fact, I want to mention that a lot of people do bring stuff like that up, but really, Terran in StarCraft 2 is nothing like Terran in StarCraft 1. It's just not the same race whatsoever. So it's smart for him to switch because he was a Terran, and that Terran in StarCraft 2 doesn't play like that. Protoss actually plays closer to it.
It actually is a lot more similar. Interestingly, Classic, looking at that first pro path, he actually scouted for Snute's first Overlord. Upon not seeing it, he's then gone straight across the map. That is such a cute little move. You only see in the best players.
But you have to be playing against someone who's one of the best players as well. And well, Snute is, but Snute actually scouted up with his first Overlord. So even if Snute was top right, he probably would have scouted down.
And there would have been that small chance of it, wouldn't there? Look at that, the probe isn't going in for the scout now. He's actually curving back to the top right. He's going for the counter. So this is really odd. He's actually taken into account what you just said, decided maybe he's top right. He's going to be coming in, once again, looking to get in Snute's face nice and early.
Well, looks like that hatchery will go down. Of course, he went pool first, so cannon rush not going to occur this game.
These builds do sort of cancel each other out. Both players just expand a little bit slower. And from here, Classic can play his style. Now, this is an interesting spawn location where Snute is going to have to expand further and further to the right as the game progresses. And if we do see it go to that sort of late game stage, we might start to see things like proxy pylons and warp prisms in that bottom right-hand side really start to disrupt Snute's economy.
Certainly, I would expect that on such a map. But something that we do see a lot on this map as well is just very strong pushes, a lot of sentries right in that middle area where you can just cut up the armies so well.
The choke points are real. They're absolutely powerful here. That's why I often actually see Tunneling Claw Roach openings or rushing straight to Hydras saying, well, just straight up Roaches do nothing in these choke points. They get obliterated by force fields. We've got to commit to something that can either throw the Protoss back like Tunneling Claws or just go straight through them, or the Hydralisks with their superior range and then try to push the tech a bit deeper.
Yeah, it's quite a good call. Definitely something I've seen as a Protoss player on the ladder playing this map as well. Well, we'll see what these guys want to go for. Of course, I'm always very interested to see as the Protoss player Cybernetics Core finishes, what tech will he choose? And I'm definitely saying I'm leaning towards he's going to go Stargate again. It's like such a fallback right now for Protosses.
I get that feeling as well, especially recently with, of course, Rain popularized double Oracle, and everyone is doing it now. Absolutely everyone has realized, even if there's a Spore Crawler and a Queen, you're going to pick off 2-3 drones, get out of there, come back in later. And they're this unit which just recycles constantly. You're having issues scouting, guess what?
Yeah.
Throw a Revelation in their main base, you're going to see everything that goes on.
Flying harassment units are pretty good at StarCraft.
I hear that there's this thing you're pretty hot on in this game, cost efficiency. Do you think Oracles are cost-efficient units, Dan?
I would call them probably cost-efficient units, Pig.
Okay.
I think that generally, especially against things like Zerglings and drones, they definitely kill their weight.
They definitely do. If only Zerglings could climb on each other's shoulders, they might actually be able to do something with that. And of course, the Stargate does go down. Classic looking like he's sticking with what's tested and true.
The Zergling pyramid, I like the idea. But then the Oracle targets the bottom row and they start falling down.
Oh man,
that extra splash.
You've got to micro really well because it's very hard to click on the lower Zerg.
Yeah, indeed. Maybe something we can see in Legacy Void.
I like the faster stalk of this game. It's really nice to push the scouting back, keep the Zerg a little bit in the dark, and just kind of disrupt his information. Makes Snute a bit more uncomfortable.
Certainly, but I think this game, we're going to see some spores going up relatively quickly here, because he has to look at this and say, okay, it's a huge map. I can't scout. I think he has to just kind of guess and say there could be oracles on the way, because if he doesn't, he's going to be in a lot of trouble.
And the single oracle going down, it's also quite easy to put down at least one safety oracle, because you know the natural expansion is the closest to the Protoss base. He's already got that down, dropping another one in his main and third base as well. So looking like he is playing very, very safe. And of course, after a gasless opening, this is something you can really afford.
Yeah, and in fact, it looks like he wants to go for exactly what you were talking about, Pig. He's going for double Roach Warren right now, which means that we should be seeing speed and tunneling claws at the same time, unless he did it by accident. which is embarrassing, in which case you're supposed to go both of them at the same time anyways.
It's actually a really cool timing on this map. Really takes away the power of those choke points. The Oracle comes in, does pick up 2 kills, but already taking a bit of damage through the shields, does have to pull back. Snoot's probably feeling very comfortable with this setup, and one of the cool things you can skip with this sort of opening is upgrades. You're hitting a very hard, fast attack, so why bother getting ranged upgrades? You want to hit so early that the upgrades won't matter as much as just having a big, beefy army, and also you can skip your creep spread. You're playing so aggressive with this opening, you can just delay that completely because you're banking on doing a lot of damage with this potential roach push.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's a fantastic choice, and I think for sure it should at least get the 3rd base, so good choice by Snute here. But we do have Classic with the double Oracle, picking off a couple drones here, taking a little bit more damage than he really wanted there, a tiny bit of miss micro. But at this point, I think he's seen both Roach Warrens.
He actually has not spotted the one at the natural just yet.
Oh, geez.
He's just skirted around it, and seeing that is so important because remember what we saw last game, Roach-based aggression. What's great against it? Void Rays. And we haven't seen any Void Rays come out. This time, Classic's really taking the much more efficient 3rd base, just powering into those sentries.
He now sees that 2nd Roach Warren. Now, has he realized that both of them are upgrading? If so, that is a huge amount of information. Immediately, he throws down a robotic. So I'm going to go ahead and guess that he realizes exactly what's coming for him.
I think he does. He's spotted that, of course, needs at least one observer and starts pumping Immortals as soon as that's done. Oracle's coming. This is what we were talking about. They just always find a couple of drones here or there, and they're still alive. It's 10 minutes in, and we already have seen 7 workers go down, even though Snute was so well prepared.
Yeah, very, very true indeed. And these Oracles can be useful in this upcoming battle as well as detection and as some additional damage on these units. Now, we do see that Robo. It's going to be finishing pretty soon. A couple more cannons on the way as well at that 3rd base, but 3rd base is not really defended that well yet.
Oh, the cannons really need to finish up. Warping in even more sentries. An interesting maneuver there for Classic. So many sentries, so many force fields, and just trying to stay back in the choke points because guess what? You can't burrow through buildings. So Snoot's trying to take this wall down.
Indeed, he does get that gateway. But, you know, that's still such a small area right there. I don't think you really want a burrow movement into that, but we'll see. He's actually starting to push forward right now. All right, a burrow movement to escape, just picking off any units that he can. Well, that guy, I guess, didn't get to burrow, so he's going to go ahead and die. But at the moment, we do have Immortals on the way. A few more cannons, more of a gateway wall as well. I like it. I like the building placements, and I think that so far Classic is responding pretty well.
He's held on fantastically so far. What's very interesting about this is Snute actually did not commit to an all-in.
Yeah.
He got the units up fast, but behind this, he built a Hydralisk Den, he built an Evolution Chamber, and he is at 85 drones right now. He has a fully saturated 4th base, so his ability to power out units from here is going to be amazing. And Classic, on the other hand, staying at a very low tech tree that's not very good against Hydralisks.
Yeah, it's very interesting because I saw the double Roach Horn. I'm like, okay, yeah, if you just make nothing but roaches here, you're going to get that 3rd base. But for him to switch that up, get into those 4 bases, get all that tech up, it's almost like he forced Classic to over-defend. You know, Classic, he made a bunch of cannons, he's been turtly, he hasn't been able to move on the map at all, and, you know, and now suddenly Snute has all the weapons he really needs to battle against this.
Snute also heading now for that infestation pit, looking like he does want to head towards Hive. That seems to be his tech of choice as the game progresses. The one scary thing for Snute at this point is that Classic supply is getting quite high. Blink Immortal with enough force fields is great against Hydralisks for buying time. So Snute now, almost at maxed out, he's looking for his opening. He wants to trade off some of these units before Classic supply gets too high. Coming in from this side, it is a wide open area, but look at how many cannons there are.
Yeah, quite a few here. The Nexus Cannon going down as well. Some decent force fields, but these Roaches do have burrow movement. Going to go ahead, move forward. In the meantime, we do have another attack going up here through the choke, kind of in a flanking maneuver, killing off some sentries and targeting down this Immortal.
Oh, the Immortal pulls out just in time. Roaches trying to burrow in, but they're not really getting too much done. Oh, it feels a little bit like the Zerg army is a wave crashing against a rock right now. Classic's defense has been fantastic.
Well, it certainly has. Not that much killed for Classic here. Meantime, Snute tucking tail and running back across the map right now. But this is a very long map. You know, it's going to be hard for Classic to just attack, move across. And I think that now that this Hive has started, he should be able to get up to Vipers before taking any critical damage.
as high as Classic supply is getting, as strong as his army is, I have to agree with you. Snoot's got that economy behind this. He took an inefficient trade there, but he's killed some sentries. He's depleted the energy, which really takes away Classic's ability to counterattack. And yeah, you've got 4 Immortals in your army. They're good against Roaches, and I guess that's why I'm a little bit questionable about Snute adding any more Roaches into his army. I kind of feel like they're dead weight at this point. I'd love to see a little bit more focus on just mass Hydra Zergling, and then maybe get a faster transition into perhaps the Broodlord tech or Ultralisk tech. Of course, that's a long way down the road.
Yeah, certainly. Although I would love this to turn into a Broodlord game. Those things take forever. And I love long StarCraft.
It all
big
becomes
maps.
about the strategy. It all becomes about the cost efficiency.
Indeed it does. Well, we do have these Hydras moving in. We have a flank here as well. I think this is almost like a diversionary tactic from Snute.
Snoot's pushing in on the third still very hard. And I think you're right. He's pulled most of the army away, and he's actually killed some gateways, killed a few stalkers. Ooh, and pushing back in here on this side. There's no force fields left. These Hydras are actually getting a pretty decent trade here.
Yeah, and right now, he's killing off quite a few Immortals. Already killing 2 of them off right there. A lot of sentries going down as well. So that's a little bit rough. Really messed up the unit composition of Classic with that attack.
Yes, without those sentries, Roach Hydra becomes a much more long-term viable option here. And we do see that 20 more Hydralisks on the production tab, +3 range, +1 carapace. It's very much a slowly wearing you down style from Snute. Have these trades been good enough? It's very hard to say right now, but we can see that Classic has no thoughts of a 4 base right now. He's very much penned back on 3 bases, just trying to take these efficient fights. And now suddenly with the force fields gone, yeah, you've got a lot of Blinkstalkers and Immortals, but against a mass Hydralisk army with 1 or 2 Vipers supporting it, it's going to be really hard to take a good fight.
You know, he hit that attack just in the nick of time, knocking all that out, because the Temple Archives had just finished. If he had been able to go up to Psystorm from here, that I think would have been an easy victory for Classic. But now he's got to push forward. He's making a lot of Stalkers. Here he comes. We do have Snute with a pretty good concave here, really spread out on his Hydras, most of them shooting at the same time, but that is a lot of Blink Stalkers.
Oh, I think this is a pretty good fight for Snute though, but the flank of Stalkers coming in is going to be really great. The Immortals tanking quite a decent amount of damage. These Hydras are starting to get obliterated in the tail end of this fight.
And that definitely does go to Classic, continuing to push forward here on the map. He's almost up to this +3 attack, which is going to give him another nice little edge as he pushes through. But will this be enough against all these Lings and Hydras being produced? I don't think so.
Look how far away his reinforcement point is. His Stalkers are having to walk all the way across the map, and this is somewhat all in. Classic is giving Snute the opportunity to take good trades here, which means he needs to kill. He needs as many Stalkers together as possible, and with no sentries, no Guardian Shield, it's going to be so difficult.
Seriously, these Immortals really not helping out all that much. In fact, even pulls them out to be able to pick them right off, but that allows him to clean up some of these Zerglings. At least he is going to have a Pylon Warp in, and that's really going to help him pushing forward in this.
Oh, Snute may need to pull some drones here to help buffer. He realizes it, pulls about 15 drones here into the fight. The Hydralisk number is getting too high right now. Blinkstalkers cannot break through these Hydras on creep.
No, certainly not. Warping in a lot of Stalkers right now. Only 1 pylon here. He's got to be careful about that, but it looks like right now Snute just wants to attack into these Stalkers, but they do force back the Hydras for now. More Lings being produced at the moment. The drones being pulled once again, not quite getting that Viper either.
Oh, Snute just needs to hang on every moment. He has so many Hydralisks and Zerglings popping out. His +3 and +2 armor is about to finish. The Stalkers of Classic are getting very weak. They're all taking so much damage.
Well, he's warping in more and more right now. This is a do-or-die situation for Classic. Pushing forward time and time again. He's got to stay as cost-efficient as possible. He's down in the base count. The drones being pulled here once again.
Oh, there's still 73 drones left alive, even after losing a few. The Hydralisk count is getting insane, even Blinding Clouds on top of it. Get out of my base, says Snute.
Oh, man. He even gets the pylon there. So now we don't even have a warping spot. The best that we can see here is running around the map with these Stalkers, trying to buy time to get, I don't know, what, Psystorm, I guess?
Oh, he doesn't seem to have any contingency plan. It's let's make or break it with Stalkers. That seems to be all Classic's got on his mind right now. Starting the Psystorm now, but what can he possibly do? This Stalker ball is so exposed.
Yeah, it's barely a Stalker ball as well. You know, it's like a Stalker tennis ball, not a Stalker basketball like he needs here. So he's in a tough spot.
The Onion is just, it's bleeding more and more tears right now. There is so many tears rolling down Snute's face as he slowly unleashes the might of the Onion, and he's gonna break his way through here. He's gonna push across. He's got what, 40 Hydralisks right now? 39? I think that may get the job done against this Stalker Ball.
It may indeed, but we do have 6 High Templars and six or more Psy Storms. That'll do a lot of damage to this. So we'll see how many layers will he get through this Onion. You know what I do, Pig? I just chop him right in half. Why would you peel an onion?
Oh, probes are even long distance mining here. Chopping it in half if you can just handle eating those giant bites. As a vegetarian, I'm sure you're used to it. Storm has just finished. This may actually be an anti-timing. He needs a great blinding cloud to push in here. There is so much Storm available. The Zergling's getting on top of the Templar. He needs to focus these High Templar down. Oh, eating some very big Storms, but he's still got so many more Hydralisks in reserve.
Well, he's continuing to push in here. The Zergling's got on top of those High Templars for a moment, but he's pushing forward once again. More Psy Storms going down, losing most of his High Templars here. So he's going to have to push forward with his Blink Stalkers, with his Zealots, and kill off as much as he can because Snute is taking the map.
The game is suddenly turned upside down. All the Blink Stalker pressure down there seemed to get the job done. Classic's desperately kind of long-distance mining from his 4th base. Doesn't even have a Nexus there. But getting that Storm out has just turned the tide so suddenly. And those +3 upgrades on those Stalkers doing fantastically.
Well, if Classic comes back from this, he is not an Onion. He is the Onion Knight himself. So we will see, can he do it? Snute pushing forward right now. Lots of Lings, lots of Hydras. Of course, the Lings get just absolutely shredded. He's going to need a couple Psy Storms, though, to be cost-efficient against these Hydras.
Oh, a couple of High Templar going down at the back here. The Hydras are chasing, but as they get off creep, they do get more and more exposed. Oh, is he going to be able to focus this Nexus down? Classic's going to come in for the engagement.
And some Psy Storms do go down. They're okay, but we see almost everything getting picked off there at the front. High Templars and Zealots alike. A blink forward here from Classic, trying to chase everything down, but Snute gets right back on creep and backs up.
Oh, his army is much more cost-efficient on creep, but his army has so few Hydras left. Only 8. A lot of Roaches, though. Having to cancel this base. Snute doesn't care. He's got 5 bases elsewhere. He's actually getting that supply lead back up again. Killing those High Templars is so important because look at this gas count of Classic. It is so low. He's made another 5 High Templar. He has an Archon, but he needs to spend every other bit of gas on remaking the meat of his army. He needs enough Stalkers to actually withstand the firepower.
And we do see him, in fact, even adding in an Immortal, knowing that those Roaches are going to come in, you know, as you've killed those off. As Psy Storm is being used as one of your chief weapons, Roach is going to weather that storm very, very well.
Oh, and the 3-2 upgrades on this Roach Hydra is so strong. If Snute can deny this base again, Classic is going to starve out. His resources are getting very low. Oh, very nice Blinding Cloud, forcing Classic into the Zerg army. And look at this, so many Psy Storms, though. Brutal damage on the Roach Hydra.
Yeah, very nice Psy Storms, but that Blinding Cloud doing more than those Psy Storms, in fact, really messing up all of the control here for Classic, having a very hard time. Finally, it does dissipate, and he will push forward once again with these Blink Stalkers. Can't quite blink forward onto an army that big, though.
Very good tactical withdrawal from Snute there. Unfortunately, leaving most of the High Templar alive. In the previous battles, he was usually able to pick those off. But now, as those High Templar regain their energy, they are going to be very efficient over time. Snute looking like he's very focused on this army. This is what he wants to win with, Roach Hydra. He lost a lot of drones earlier in that fighting. He's only at 64. He doesn't have this sort of massive economy. He can do whatever he wants off. He really needs to choose his next path wisely. And he's saying, I'm going to try and wear him down. Roach Hydra, using those nice blinding clouds. I can take some nice fights. I think I can stop this 4th base from getting fully mining.
Well, if he can do that, the game is his because Classic needs this base. He cannot lose it even one more time. He must hold on. He must cost efficiently kill off this army and then, I mean, work his way across the map. But that is going to take a lot beforehand.
I love the patient spreading of Snute. He's just taking his time, does not want to eat the storms. He's going to keep spreading those units out. The Blinding Cloud a little bit further forward this time. Oh, the storms coming in, not getting the most amazing hits though. Snute's actually doing a good job of minimizing it so far. His army's bruised, but he's still got a lot of Roach Hydra in here.
Yeah, this is pretty tough right now for Classic. That was a very nice Psy Storm, but I think Snute doesn't even care. Just pushing forward right now, making more units there at home with his superior economy. But looks like we are going to have him kill everything off again. Thing is, he keeps losing a lot of High Templars in these battles, and that is a unit that you really need to retain.
Oh, it's very, very tricky for him. But now, look at the supplies. He's up in supply. He may have just been able to withstand that one. With so many good storms, there was a few whiffs, but just enough good ones. And only 7 Hydras and 10 Roaches out and a Viper? When you've still got 22 Blinkstalkers and 3 Immortals, Classic almost doesn't even need the Storm right now.
Yeah, maybe you're right about that. But over time, with this many bases, Snute is going to mine right back up. Does Classic have the killer instinct to try to move across the map at this moment?
It's a hard call to make. He pushed onto creep before and almost lost his entire army.
Yeah.
It ended up being a decent call. As we saw, we thought he was dead earlier, and he's kind of turning it around. Classic showing the caliber of player that he is.
Indeed. You know, you don't become a champion of SSL and GSL by being anything less than this good. So we'll see if he has what it takes. He's really kind of just rounding out his army at the moment. Snute, in the meantime, trying to fill up his supply. Of course, when you're having so many Roaches in your army, if you're not maxed out 29 minutes into the game, your army is really not very good at all.
Oh, with 4 Immortals, they're almost not very useless in any situation. Really, we need to see some amazing Blinding Clouds and Abducts to minimize the Immortals, or else the army's just going to absolutely shrek Snute's force. Snute's going to need that one Viper to do magic.
Well, I mean, quite literally, he's going to need to do magic and a lot of it, but I don't think he can charge up in time to get enough spells off to do enough. So I don't know. Do you go for like kind of base trade type moves here? Do you move in as he moves out? Do you go Fro when he goes, you know, the opposite of Fro, whatever that is? It's not coming to my mind right now.
To and fro, right?
There you go, two. That's
two
it.
and fro and 2, and he is coming around now for a flank. Look at this. This is designed to pull Classic out of position. Meanwhile, his other army is moving up to the Nexus Snipe. Classic realizes what's happening, realizes how unimportant this base is, but is it too late? The Roach Hydra is focusing down his 4th base so quickly.
Oh man, this is gonna be it. Classic is going to have to attack from here, I think. There's not a whole lot of other options. He is trying to sneak a base in the top right, but oh man, without that mining base right now, he can't just sit back and defend anymore.
Oh, Snute's even killing a lot of probes on the right-hand side, pulling Classic this way and that. Snute just needs to re-max here, needs to get back in that powerful position. Classic's mining is so small right now.
That's very small indeed. He is starting to take out some of his creep on the left-hand side. There is so much in this map to actually contend with, though. Making another Nexus, and he's actually just sitting back. I guess he's decided, you know what, I have a better chance of winning if I sit back and get my Nexuses back up than if I all in right here.
Even losing the Warp Prism in the bottom right-hand corner, that's actually a big move, because Snute right now wants to keep wearing him down, wants to have all his army attacking in 1 or 2 places, and that Warp Prism represented a very powerful threat. You know, at the drop of a hat, 8 Zealots can warp in. If you don't have units in position, these bases are spread so far apart. We were talking about at the start of the game on Cactus Valley, and I think it's really hard now for Classic without being able to put any pressure on Snute.
Yeah.
His only real trump card is that base in the top right. If he can keep that hidden for long enough, and this DT Shrine, I guess that's the other trump card, the trumpiest of all cards.
Indeed. Well, we'll see how much value that trumpiest of all cards can get coming up here.
It's Value Town, boys.
Well,
Passion Craft right here at IEM Shenzhen.
You know, I guess if he warps some DTs at that hidden base and runs them down the right side of the map, they definitely could do some damage, but he's got to live until that point, and that's going to be hard because he hasn't made a new fighting unit in quite some time, Pig.
He has not. Classic's mining is abysmal. As that Nexus gets up, Snute saying, guess what? 1-2 punch. Same thing I did before. It worked. I'm going to do it again. And look at this. Even just grabbing an Immortal. So cute there. Going to try and grab an Archon as well. Or a Stalker. That's the Abduct that rubs it in your face. An accidental misclick, but it is going to be devastating for Classic's morale right now. Meanwhile, Snute has found the top right base with a Zergling. And he is up there. Now, seeing that, he's diverting his entire army to shut down the last bastion of Classic's economy.
That is right, and this is just it for Classic. He decided to sit back and hope that this went unscouted for a long time. Unfortunately, not even close to long enough to make an impact on this game. He's going to run a few DTs around the map and see what he can get done, but with spores everywhere and queens and drones being pulled, there's just nothing left here.
Impressive play from Snute. Right at the moment when we thought Classic had stabilized, Snute has just found the multi-prong. This is the power of Zerg. He can hit you in multiple places, and he only needs a couple of drones. He does not need a lot of drones to make this happen. And if Snute can take this game down, remember, he's only 1 game away from coming out first in a group with Classic and Rain in it.
That's pretty insane, man. If he can pull that one off, and Younghwa's in it too, by the way. Why is everyone ignoring Younghwa? Great defensive Protoss. He's even more defensive than Rain.
His Codes champion is on the way. It'll happen one day, Artie. I know it
will happen one day.
You've been talking about Younghwa for a long time, and like most of your predictions, I know it must be dead on the money.
Yeah. Well,
you've got a reputation to keep up after all.
Indeed I do. Well, this is going to be it, guys. This should be the last real battle of this game. Classic trying to hold on. He's got great micro. He's got great defense, but nothing can hold you on against how much Snute has on this map.
Oh, it doesn't matter how much Storm you have. That is just too much Zerg. Look at the beautiful pullbacks from Snute. A beautiful concave. Just a wave of Zerg crashing over this Protoss army. And Classic is getting knocked out of this game.
All right. GG is called, and Snute takes game number 2. A big smile on his face that time. Peeling back every layer of that onion. I know that's what he's thinking about, too. He's thinking about the onion joke, and it's making him smile and laugh. Yeah. Ah, the tears! The tears! Oh! Chobra is a legend.
I think that's actually the best analogy we've had in StarCraft for quite a while.
Quite some time.
It's almost hilarious to see Snute at this point where he has probably less faith in this matchup than he's ever had before, and yet he's showing us he's still a world-class contender. He's such a strong player.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And oh my god, the last map is Iron Fortress. That is a winnable map for Snute.
It's a really good map, actually, and it's going to be interesting how he chooses to play it. Classic, look at that. There's a lot of sweat on his brow. He's been having a tough time. That's an intense game that he just played.
Well, he just gave his absolute utmost. He's actually asking for the aircon to be turned on in his booth in the chat right now. So, makes sense why he's sweating so heavily. In the meantime, Snute looks like he just got out of the beauty parlor.
He really does.
He's fantastic.
Just those Nordic features, of course. His last name is Asgard, which is pretty much the most bad.
Isn't that like where Thor is from or something?
I'm pretty sure it's pretty similar, right?
I'm pretty sure that's where Thor is from.
It actually is. I'm 100% sure.
I know that Snute could pick up his hammer too, no problem.
Easily.
And he's not an elevator either, so that's cool. See, there's actually quite a few fans here. It's a really big convention.
It's actually huge. It was really cool. And I haven't been to China in a long time for StarCraft. And the last time I did come, it was kind of this crowded convention center where you couldn't breathe. And this one is this huge, amazing center here in Shenzhen. Lots of fans of gaming, anime, cosplay all around. It's actually a really cool scene this weekend.
A lot of fun. It's always cool to come down to these conventions and check them out a little bit. I know Apollo's been doing that quite often.
Checking out the convention. Yes, Apollo loves
Getting
that.
his picture taken with, all the cosplayers and whatnot.
Go to check his Twitter account, at LiquidRet, if you guys want to follow Sean and keep up to date.
Ohana means family.
I'm just silently giggling to myself here right now. This is the most professional of IEM commentaries. And of course, not to water it down, we're having a bit of fun, but this is actually just like a cool moment where we're at that point in StarCraft history where everyone's like, the foreign scene, can they really compete? The elephants finally arrived in the room. Guess what? Seahorses or liquid horses don't care about elephants. They knock them down, and Snoot's just doing it, man.
Well, we'll see, man. If Snute can make it into this next round, that is like gigantic in and of itself, with the amount of championships that are in his group, as well as the amazing and defensive Younghwa. That's quite a feat to behold, but we'll see if he can do it. I believe after this we're actually doing the losers match, so we won't know who his opponent is quite yet. He'll have a little bit of rest time, which is good, because this is 2 stage matches in a row. Right, and if he lost here, it would be 3, but it's not. So.
It gives the players a little bit of a break there,
Yeah. It looks like we're getting ready to start this game, guys. Snute against Classic on Iron Fortress. It is game number 3 in the winner match of Group B, the Group of Death. Right up here in the top left, our Zerg player from Team Liquid. It is Snute. True brute of Zerg.
Powerful Thor warrior.
And his opponent in the bottom right, hailing from Korea and SK Telecom T1, is Classic.
had a bit of an ordeal yesterday traveling here to China, but he's come here. He's feeling good now. He's feeling confident. He's 1-1 now.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because Snute is pushing these guys to their absolute limits, to the absolute extremes. And, you know, I'm excited to see it because you just look at someone like Classic or like Rain, you're like, well, probably one of those guys will win, right? Like, these guys literally just won the 2 biggest, strongest leagues in the world in Korea. So they're obviously one of them should win this, right? But no, I mean, Snute is making a case for them not winning.
The group of death has turned on its head. You know, I feel bad myself. I called it. I said Snute's not making it out of this group. Roddy was like, I have faith. And turns out Roddy knows more about this game than any of us.
Well, he also said U-Thermal, he thinks is going to go pretty much all the way. So we will see on those 2 guesses.
Classic sticking with the cannon opening. Going for a very fast forge with a 9 scout. Gonna come into Snute's base, and of course, this isn't, he doesn't have to cannon rush, but the moment he sees a hatchery first, any sort of strong economic opening, he could have gone for the cannon rush, comes in, sees the pull first from Snute, realizes, all right, let's just try and delay this hatchery for a little while, be a little bit annoying with our probe, and this is always a nice way to open up from Protoss.
That's right. It's like super safe and gives you the option of killing them early on if they mess up at all. I do like openers like that.
Oh, this is so annoying with that probe micro.
Seriously.
Delaying that hatchery for so long. The probe trying to hide underneath the ledge. That's not how StarCraft works.
No, certainly not. But going to continue to scout a little bit, see if when the gas timings come up and whatnot. But he has to get out of there before the Zerglings are out.
Now, forge openings on this map have actually been getting more popular as of late. A lot of Zergs were throwing out some crazy all-ins and things. Now, the big feature of this map is that the 3rd base is very far away. It's hard to get on top of that, take it at a good timing. We see Snute's actually just opened up with a gasless opening, but against the forge, it's very safe for him to take a 3rd base to feel comfortable. Whilst a lot of Protoss players on here like to throw out some kind of crazy builds. We see DTs being very common. That's what we saw, of course, earlier on. Proxy Stargates and those hidden bases in the corner, which we've already seen in quite a few series today.
Yeah. I do like to see when hidden bases get rotated back in and stuff. And, oftentimes it's on these really big 4-player maps that aren't always really in the map pool anyways. But it's cool to see that popping up again. People are really going to have to kind of stay on top of that. Maybe that becomes like one of the little metas of the tournament is people are hiding bases on each other.
It's always a cool thing to see because StarCraft is a game which ends up being played around a relatively concrete meta. It's not all that elastic, especially in a tight scene like Korea. And what's really cool about tournaments like this is you get to see players come from these different ladders which they practice on, different tournament scenes, come together, and you get to see all these little adjustments that come from each region and how they clash together. So it's a really, it's a sort of 2 worlds collide situation, one could say.
Yeah.
This is such a gamble from Classic, but he knows he needs to make something happen to get back in this. There's roaches already popping out there. I think Snute's in a perfect position to crush this attack.
Absolutely. I think you are correct. All of Snute's units starting to move back right now. These Zealots absolutely not doing enough damage. And that is going to make Snute super safe. And what do you do here as Classic? It looks like you grab all your tech and, just hope you can hold on forever like in that last game.
It's got to be the plan. You got to rely on those deeper layers of defense. Going for the blink and the robo, he realizes he's kind of forced into all these pieces of tech you normally don't want to add until after your 3rd base is down, but he just can't rely on it. He's got to slowly rebuild those sentries, slowly add blink, and he's got to play a very drawn-out series of engagements in order to get back in here.
Look at this. He's really going the full distance here. Even a Dark Shrine being made here by Classic now, so... I mean, that's a lot of money invested on these 2 bases. Once again, warping a bunch of Zealots to walk across. He doesn't have endless minerals. This has to do something.
It's kind of like a Zergling counterattack actually walking across the entire map down the back doors, but, it's a lot slower. It's a much bigger gamble. However, it looks like it's going to pay off. Snute's units are actually very far out of position right now. Those roaches, they've got roach speed. They can get back here pretty quickly, but,
I think he can just target the hatch if he just right-clicks it.
It's going to be
he sees it. He's coming back luck right now.
Oh, Classic delaying a little bit too much there. The Overlord spotting it. Hydra's popping out. Oh, looks like this is going to be another whiff. Only going to get a drone or two, a couple of Hydralisks. You know, it's not the worst trade in the world, but when you're on 2 bases versus 3, you need to get much better trades than that.
Absolutely the case. Even goes Burrow on his hurt units. Okay, Snute, stop showing off, bro. Come on. I mean, this is some fantastic play.
Oh,
I don't know what Classic is even... Well, I know what he's doing. He's going +2 Blink and Immortals, but is that ever going to be enough against what we have with Snute here? He's almost up to Hive.
Well, we're going to see a single Viper added in, a lot of Roach Hydra, and off 70 drones already being out. Snute doesn't even have any decision-making to do here. It's literally just like hold down R, hold down H, build Roaches and Hydras, attack with them, slowly take a 4th base, rinse and repeat over and over and over again. Keep Classic off that 3rd base. This is just such commanding play from Snute, going for that big Zergling push, immediately recognizing the 3rd was late and saying, you know what, I can catch this army right here, right now.
Well, it's paid off in dividends here. We do have a bunch of DTs being warped in. He has 5 right now, bringing 4 back home, it looks like. Or no? Kind of being a little bit indecisive, actually, with that.
Maybe waiting until Snute's distracted. This is the 3rd wave of an attack, which we keep saying it needs to do damage, but this one more than ever. 5 DTs is so much gas, and this is why we see Classic venturing out. He wants to try and distract Snute, peel off some units. Actually, some pretty decent force fields there, not losing too many units, and at the same time, the DTs come in and get shut down.
Everything slaughtered here. Classic can't buy some damage at this point. Like, he is putting everything he's got into it. And in fact, oh my god, his +2 might not finish.
Oh. Well, the DTs did something. They distracted Snute, so he didn't just focus down the Forge, but Snute is just looking so strong here. So powerful. Actually, 18, 20 drones going down there in the main.
All right.
You know, all right. He's starting to make it happen. Snute maybe getting a little bit too excited in the booth there.
Maybe.
And he's going to lose the 4th hatchery as well.
A little bit too wiggly and jiggly, thinking he might win the Group of Death here at the opening of Intel Extreme Masters Season 10.
With the Warp Prism going down, it's still a comfortable position for Snute, but Classic's starting to eke out some small edges here and there. Unfortunately, though, what are we missing? A big sentry count. There's only 4 sentries for Classic here. He's got a good Immortal count, which will cancel out the Roaches, but with only 14 Blink Stalkers against 30 Hydralisks, this is going to be, it's going to be a battle of positioning. He needs to limit the Zerg army's surface area. He needs to fight one small section at a time, and with such a wide open area here, it's going to be very difficult.
Throws down a Time Warp there, maybe a little bit too quickly. Didn't really do anything with that one. Snute right now just rallying his units down, has such big blobs out there. Now, of course, this is a very strong unit set that we have from Classic, so as long as he has force fields, I think he can do all right here.
A single sentry force fielding that ramp on the left. Quite a nice move to limit the space. However, there's still so much area here.
Well, he is throwing down some really good force fields so far, really limiting the amount of units that can come up. Those Immortals doing some real work on these Roaches. Microing back very strongly, but his sentries are starting to fall. He has almost no force fields left. Snute coming in right now with a lot of Hydralisks, and these Immortals have nothing to back them up. They're going to go down. The Mothership Core goes down, and with them, Classic goes down.
Snute just showing commanding play here. Classic cannot believe what is happening, but every single Stalker is dying. These Hydralisks are pushing in relentlessly. It is a decisive set of wins here for Snute on day 1 of IEM Shenzhen.
Oh my god, I cannot even believe what we are seeing, Pig. Snute battling against the best players in the world, coming out on top. Almost nothing left for Classic. Of course, being an onion, his core has not been reached yet. Well, his Mothership Core was, but, you know, not the theoretical core of his onionness. But, you know, he's still blinking 3 Stalkers right now against a bunch of Hydras on high ground. We'll see how long he can actually stay alive here.
Trying to get that one last tier from Snute, but I don't think it's going to happen. These Stalkers.
GG, and that right there is a huge day for Team Liquid and for Snute.
That was massive. Look at that sigh of relief on his face, stretching his neck out. He's got to feel so happy with that. Is this a return of the great Snute? I think it's a beginning.
It definitely could be. Some fantastic play. Classic, you see, is a little bit dazed, realizing, I have to beat Younghwa or Rain next to get out of this group. What?
That's going to be a hard path to take that second spot here.
Didn't he just win SSL? Isn't he supposed to be going into the next round in first place? Nope. Nope. It is Snute who just got to the desk. Chobra, Rotterdam, Apollo, talk to Snute for me.
We'll do exactly that, Artosis. Don't worry. That's why we're here. And look at him, he's here.
The onion peeler.
Yeah, the grand onion peeler coming through. Yeah, I can actually see you like blinking, like you actually have like tears in your eyes.
No, not like that. Just a bit tired.
Well, hey, I mean, can't blame you. I mean, those matches were pretty intense, but you got through it. And you're first in the group. Going to the quarterfinal. I love it. Snoot's just like, yeah, you know.
I like it how you just scream at him. Like, yo,
I'm like way more excited for Snute than he is. I'm like fanboying for Snute here. Snoot's just like, you know, everyday life in a pro gamer.
No, that's not it. It's just the strats I used were pretty bullshitty, especially the game 3-1 where I just blinded Lynx. And I got very lucky to catch him out of position. And I feel like CVP is a bit like that nowadays. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, hey, whatever gets a win is a win, though.
Yeah,
a win is a win, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't want to talk too much about game 3, then talk about game 2, because that was an amazing game. I think that was actually one of the best
that
CVPs.
game made me happy. That game made me so happy.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
I felt like I was playing Terran. And Terrans do pretty well against Protoss. Like, I started experimenting with this style a little bit back in Europe. But I never got to try it out in a professional match because I always got eliminated by aggressive builds and early game stuff. But I used it in practice and I was able to beat some pretty good players with it and just going up to 85 drones and spamming Roach Hydra. But a lot of the time I also lost and regretted not going Broodlords. But I just tried to think like, okay, what would Maru do against Protoss, you know? Just try to... Because Broodlords are kind of slow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they are.
I'm gonna be nice, but you know...
I thought there was going to be another S word coming in. Slow will do.
4 characters
It's like,
as well.
it's the ultimate flying unit, but I just cannot get myself to use it. It's so difficult to attack with, so I would rather try to split my forces and...
Yeah, we thought you were in trouble until you.
I thought I was in trouble as well.
I think the game was a real roller coaster. I felt like it started off like all right for you because he went for double probe scout and like maybe hoped for some cannon stuff, but wasn't really able to get it down. And then it just kind of went back and forth. On a certain point, I was like, man, these Roaches and Hydras are doing really well. And when you push back the Blink Stalkers, we were screaming, by the way, like, Snute, kill that pylon! Like, you just...
I really wanted to, but I needed the blinding cloud to be safe. And then I finally was able to kill it, and I had to wait for my 2-3 upgrades as well.
Yeah. But you know, that was like the only pylon he had on that side of the map. The next one was like at home, so we're like, kill that pylon.
Yeah,
but
it's tough to know.
Yeah.
And I need to DPS the Stalkers as well, so you kind of need to wait for them to disengage.
Yeah, I
but
guess
when I killed the pylon, I was really happy.
Yeah, I mean, that's when you really secured it. I mean, we could tell just in the game's momentum. As soon as that pylon went through, I was like, all right, now expanding back topwards, going for the win. But after all of that, you're here. I mean, game 2, I was watching it. I'm like, all right, as soon as it goes a little bit longer, I'm like, he's probably happy about that. Just after our last interview, the game itself is longer. You have to actually like think about each move, and we saw a lot of back and forth between your armies. So glad to hear you had fun in that game too, and now you're going to the quarterfinals.
I think it's really funny too, is coming into this tournament, literally everybody, literally said that, you know, the 4 Protoss players were always going to be top 4 and were going to be untouched. And then Snoop's like, there's one gone, there's another gone. Taking down 50% of the players that we thought would be untouched is really remarkable. I mean, that surely, I mean, even though you're not super happy with the games, it still must be a pretty good feeling to have beaten 2 of the 4 that everyone was looking at.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'll experiment a bit more with this 4-base economy style. In practice, I died a lot to High Templars as well when I tried to go Roach Hydra like I did, but I hope it has some potential. Because it's very difficult to know after the Swarmhouse patch, it's very difficult to get a feel of how is Zerg supposed to be played against Protoss, and especially with the new maps, there's a lot of gimmicks. And we don't see the economic advantage used as much. We've seen some Broodlord stuff, but in Home Story and GSL, but we haven't really seen high economy Zerg stuff all that much. So I just wanted to see if it was possible, and I hope there's something to it.
Sorry, 1 second. Was it a plan all along? Because you opened up double Roach Warren on Cactus Valley, and like, were you kind of hoping maybe for a lot of sentries? And if that would have been the case, would you go on mass Roach, or did you just Was it to trick him?
I guess I wanted to put on a lot more pressure if he didn't go for the Stargate. But after game 1, I was just like, no, Void Rays, not for me. And then I switched away. Like from that moment when I saw the double Oracle, I knew that here's the Stargate. He's seen the double Roach Warren. Like I was really careless about where I put them. But I think that maybe scared him a little bit.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I don't know, who knows. But yeah, just because I saw the Stargate, I knew that I didn't want to use the Roach stuff.
Cool.
Do you ever think about being first place or second place as is that ever a consideration for you when you're in these type of tournaments? Playing against another second place or another first place?
Yeah, sure. It's always, almost always great to be first, but it's also a lot of randomness involved.
Yeah,
so it really depends on how I fare against Terrence or Protoss or Zerg, or who I get. So not going to think too much about it. I think anyone who makes it to the round of 8 is going to be quite difficult. So
yeah. It's another top 8 as well. I don't even know how many you've had now in the
yeah, it feels good.
It's always top
it's been
8
a while.
The Intel Stream Masters. I mean, you had so many last season, and you're in a new season, and straight off the gate, you've hit another one straight away.
Yeah, it gives me some hope.
Is it just random luck at the draw and tournament, or is there something about it?
I think.
Do you always feel a lot more motivated coming to the Intel Stream Master tournaments, or?
Yeah, maybe the timing is good. Like. I feel like a lot of the times I go into IEMs, I've also been to Korea and getting motivation there, maybe. I'm not sure, but IEM always makes me feel good, and it's you get taken care of so well. So I feel very good here. And what else can I say? I think it's just mostly mental that I've been lucky to be motivated at this event.
Do you think Jinro's proud already?
I hope so. Yeah. He let me stay at his place in Korea, so he said.
There you go. Well, that's
you
what
can pay for it with.
Yeah, there you go. That's what you get to give back in return.
So I have one final question. Who's that girl wearing the Team Liquid T-shirt?
Sorry?
Who's the girl wearing the Team Liquid
You
T-shirt?
don't have to whisper,
Just a fan. Okay.
All right.
Nothing special.
Okay, just
Nothing.
I don't know. I saw her.
I love how Sean, we all have headsets on, and everyone can hear us on broadcast just fine through their headsets, but you're start whispering through your mic. You're like,
I guess it's like the production staff and everyone's sitting around. I'm like, it's just between us and not those guys.
I have to say as well, the fans that came here, like the first thing that happened when I came here was that, well, besides meeting Euthermal and all the people at the hotel and stuff, the first thing that happened when I came here was that these fans showed up and gave me these presents and stuff.
No, what did you get?
Oh, that's awesome.
I got these Yoshi things. I'm a big fan of Yoshi, the Nintendo characters. So I got this plush pillow that I sat on in the booth and stuff. So
that's pretty
and
awesome.
Some other stuff. So it's just mostly mental. If I'm feeling good, then I can win against very good players. But sometimes I don't feel as good, and then I lose a lot.
It must be pretty cool to travel so far.
Yeah.
Obviously not from Korea, but from Europe and from Norway, and then to go to China.
Yeah.
And then there's a bunch of people waiting here for you to give you gifts and stuff. That must be awesome.
It's really amazing. It cheers me up. If I'm feeling down, then there's always fans cheering me on Twitter or in person. So. Yeah,
that's pretty awesome to hear. And Asian fans, they love giving gifts, whether it's handcrafted or something that they like to dig into. They watch your broadcast and they're like, oh, so this person like this and this stuff. Let's give them this present. It's very thoughtful. So I'm really happy to hear that you were kind of greeted with all of that and that you're feeling good. It's what got you the victories here, going through to the quarterfinals as #1 in Group B.
You had the loudest cheers, too, out of any game players we've seen today. I don't know if you could hear that. I mean, you're in the booth, but it was the loudest.
I couldn't hear anything.
It was the loudest.
Oh. Well, there you go. Now you know. You can feel even better going into the round of 8 on Sunday.
So we just keep giving compliments to Snute. The more we give, the better he feels.
The
better he plays.
It's okay. Thank you, guys.
All right, we won't embarrass you any longer here, but thank you so much for taking some time here on the desk with us. And again, congratulations going on to the round of 8. We'll see you on Sunday as you get a day of rest, and then you come here for the bracket stage. For now, ladies and gentlemen, all of you guys at home, we'll be taking a quick break, but when we return, we will find out who else gets to join Snute in the round of 8. And if you missed any of those games, we had some really epic moments that we broke down with Roddy and Apollo, so feel free to go ahead to Plays.tv, catch up on those moments so you know what to expect in the decider match and the elimination match.